against a police state, against racist intersectionality, against political correctness, against mob rule, against the racist socialist left, against the victimhood liars. The idiots have been in charge way too long. And that's why you're here. For the podcast you need. All for liberty all the time. Welcome to Liberty Bites Back. With your host, Brandon Emo.
Welcome to the 9th episode of Liberty Bites Back. In this episode, I'm going to talk about what face masks and what they actually achieve in the left's fallacy arguments they use to dismiss debate, free speech, Karl Marx advising the Joe Biden camp, and drones flying into 911 calls in Georgia. Many say face masks are very effective in deterring illnesses. Many studies and news around this certainly says otherwise, but I will tell you exactly what they are effective in doing. Face masks and mandates surrounding them are very effective in destroying and restricting human rights, restricting our oxygen, of course, as well. It's very clear that civil rights laws are being deterred with this bullcrap. Liberty is being destroyed due to the face masks. It's completely a way that is establishing authoritarianism and establishing tyranny around the globe, muzzling the people and not helping anyone. The mandates are truly leading to clear authoritarianism, and nobody who usually cares about true fascism is even seeing it. Locally, nationally, and globally, we are seeing police brutality in the name of masks, beating up women, old men, little kids are in tears. We are all doomed to more and more police brutality due to these face mask mandates. Again, nobody who says they care about police brutality. Also, they're saying nothing. They don't care at all about police brutality. These people crying about the issue ignore what is happening since they want this authoritarianism. They're ridiculous. They're bullcrap and they are liars. I really think that they just like to complain when they think it will hurt anyone not on their side, then they don't want to complain anymore. But so many who are rape victims, the medical exempt, religious Jews, and religious Christians, we are placed into this tyranny, and they don't care about us. They don't care about the rape victims. They don't care about the medical exemption people. They don't care about religious Jews and religious Christians. They want to place tyranny onto the people. They want to beat up the women. They shout, aim your guns at the maskless. They shout, and place your knee on the maskless man's neck. He's killing grandma, they scream, but they ignore what they are allowing. They say, oh, I'm against fascism, but they are allowing it on a local, national, and global level, and they are happy about this. They want this authoritarianism. They say, oh, I'm against police brutality, but they allow it on this issue. Ignoring religious freedom, ignoring the authoritarianism that's taking place of our liberty, we all need to speak up. We need to shout to all that these authoritarian measures are not American, they are not pro-life, but on the basis of Hitler-like futures of allowing medicine to determine who is a good person and who is a bad person. It can't lead to anything good. We must end any ideas that lead to tyranny and police brutality to common people. It's all a big push towards a terrible future, towards a tyrannical future, towards the authoritarian future. Face masks are effective in tyranny, authoritarianism, police brutality, and getting rid of a religious freedom. That's what it's been effective in doing. The USA has proved all of these to be facts, and we are doomed if this is the future. Let these ideas die in the present, and let's actually have a future worth living. The far left, the leftists, and the Democrats always argue that people argue in the way of whataboutism, also called whataboutery. The definition of whataboutism or whataboutery is a logical fallacy that attempts to discredit an opponent's position by charging them with hypocrisy without directly refuting or disproving their argument. Now, this fallacy usually is tied to the Soviet Union's arguments to the United States during the Cold War when they would bring up the past of the United States. The same exact arguments that the left in America focus on: American slavery, racism, lynching, and the native genocide. All of those statements, when made by the Soviet Union, were to defend their own atrocities. They made books, they've created literature and history books even as well, going over all of the issues of the United States, but for an argument to allow their own atrocities in their own nation. Now, these days, I do find it very interesting that the Soviet arguments are now the arguments of our modern American Democrats. They all focus on these topics. And also, they read and distribute the Soviet and similar communist literature of those days to defend their ideology right now. Now, back to the main topic. Many left-leaning people dismiss all arguments from any other ideas by saying people are stuck on whataboutism or whataboutery. The claim of whataboutism is now a way to not explain fallacies, but is used by the Democrats to dismiss debate. When they disagree with someone and their ideas of their own politicians doing the same as what they are complaining about, this is not whataboutism, but is truly just them misunderstanding that fallacy, and debates on ideas are way different. Showing hypocrisy is now always dismissed by the left as being whataboutism. It's a gaslighting tactic, and it's clear that they somewhat know what they are doing as they ignore the real refuting of the problems and the disproving of their ideas. They have learned that if they bring it up in their debate, they can use the argument of this fallacy to ignore the issues and also ignore that the issues are not just on one side. While if nobody shows a refute or an argument or a disproving of the ideas and just shines the issues on the hypocrisy, it is very similar to whataboutism, and they would have a point. But the biggest way of division is showing a refute or a disproving, or at least an argument against it, without focusing on the hypocrisy alone. But they always dismiss debate once hypocrisy is explained by saying that their argument is whataboutism, so they can try to show that they won by not refuting nor disproving anything themselves, but by just saying, you're doing whataboutism. Many leftists and libertarians say that private businesses can censor whoever they want, whether it's a job, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or whoever. Free speech is a human right and goes beyond your thought line of the First Amendment. For this discussion, free speech is defined as a principle that supports the freedom of an individual or a community to articulate their opinions and ideas without the fear of retaliation, censorship, or legal sanction. Now, freedom of speech is an inalienable right of all humans. It must exist to collectively enhance our understanding of all things. Without our ideas being allowed freely, the airing of ideas, the development and testing of our ideas are unable to exist. We can't constrict the ability of the human mind on how to think nor how not to think, for both are to do the same exact thing, controlling others. Our ideas can be allowed, but free thought exists, and the freedom of speech is a real test if we are free men and free women, to restrict speech is to create an ever-constricting field of permissible thought. Your body and your mouth is yours, and you are able to use your property as ever you see fit. It's your human nature to have free speech, and it's a burning passion in our existence, and therefore is an inalienable right to our existence. If you disagree with someone, then you need to speak. You never need to cut the tongue out of their mouth. Censoring anyone is just admitting that their ideas are more popular than yours, or that you don't have the facts and they might have more facts surrounding their ideas than you. And even if those two things are false, it always gives many the idea that those two statements are true when you try to censor someone. Now, this is beyond the First Amendment. It is more important to all humans throughout the world. And here in the United States, corporations have no right to censor anyone. While many argue this because they love private property arguments, they ignore the right of human interactions and our human selves. They ignore the inalienable rights that surround our human bodies. The right of free speech is tied heavily to the right of individualism. If you're against the individual, you're against the tiniest minority in the world, a single person. Karl Marx once said to his activist followers, "Accuse your enemy of what you are doing, as you are doing it to create confusion." Now, it's very clear his followers are really listening to this advice today. The Democrats in America are fully on board with this idea, and they have been since 2016. The idea of the falsehood of Russiagate, which has followed Donald Trump in 2016 to 2019, is now being reinserted into the media again in 2020. While they use Russian and British dossier information themselves to argue these lies, it's been exposed time and time again as a full hoax. Russiagate is a full hoax, but their acceptance of Russian lies and misinformation on the Democrat side, it's been fully collaborated and proved. They are taking the information from Russian ties, taking information from who the FBI said was an enemy of our nation, wanting to destabilize our country. Information that was tried and used and was false to try to interfere with our election. It is clear that the tactic of accusing their enemy of their own wrongdoings is happening even again in this year. Joe Biden saying Donald Trump is controlled by China, while Joe Biden received money from them and his son Hunter Biden is in bed with a Chinese spy ringleader, shown in leaked audio even admitting such. Joe Biden sipping champagne with the Chinese leader, caught many audio and video recordings of saying that their rise to power is an amazing and beautiful thing for the world. Joe Biden not wishing to stop their rise in power. But Donald Trump was always pushing to stop their rise in power. And it shows once again this tactic being in use. The confusion is all over the corporate press and the prostitutes. The complete corporate wing of the misinformation that is intaked by the masses. During the Donald Trump impeachment hearings, they were turning the Ukraine scandal into something that involves Donald Trump, with an idea of quid pro quo, which is really tied to Joe Biden more than anything else, even involving the same exact nation itself, Ukraine. The idea of this tactic needs to be seen by many people, as it's a fallacy that is not even being defined by the scholars but is clearly a well-working tactic that is tricking the media or otherwise is being used and helped by the media to confuse the masses. On the 27th of October, Brookhaven, Georgia, has approved the funding of drones to respond to 9/11 calls because the police are too lazy to respond to the calls in that town. From the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, they wrote an article explaining this bull. Brookhaven will become the first city in the Southeast to adopt a first responder program that uses unmanned drones to respond to 9/11 calls, emergencies, and to conduct investigations. On Tuesday night, the city approved funding for the Brookhaven Police Department's UAS, Unmanned Aerial System Unit, which will consist of 4 drones. Police will be able to deploy them to witness crimes in progress, document crime scenes, or provide a bird-eye view for officers on the ground. Now, not every 9/11 call will be answered with a drone, but Brookhaven Police said that the project will give its officers more flexibility, availability, and information while limiting in-person contact amid the coronavirus pandemic. You heard it here. They are scared to even respond to us all because the media has created issues with the COVID-19. They're scared of COVID to a point of not even wanting to respond to our calls. Now, the Brookhaven Police Lieutenant, Abraham Anana, said in a city meeting Tuesday night, "It's literally a game changer." Ayana, who pitched the project to the city council, said Brookhaven will become the first city outside the California to adopt this program. The first was Chula Vista Police Department in 2018. The police drone will have a potential to prevent police chases, catch criminals in the act, and determine when 911 calls don't require an officer to respond. Ayana said, Chula Vista Police have not credited the drone program with more than 275 arrests and 650 calls for the service that ended up not needing an officer's presence. Brookhaven estimates that the drone response costs roughly 10% of the cost of dispatching an officer in a patrol vehicle. Police added that drones can respond much quicker to scenes since they can bypass traffic, and Ayana said that drones will have access to about 70% of the city due to Federal Aviation Agency restrictions at DeKalb Peachtree Airport. Each drone is equipped with an onboard camera that records and streams HD video back to the department's crime center, where an officer can relay information to a police on the ground. The drones are capable of thermal imaging, which can spot suspects at night. It takes a lot of hide-and-seek aspect out of hide-and-seek, Ayana said. We're going to see a lot more suspects identified in crimes because a drone is going to get there first and provide information. Brookhaven plans to train and obtain FAA licenses for 12 operators. The training will be conducted by a Decatur-based Skyfire Solutions, a company that partnered with Chula Vista Police on their program. The program will also lessen the department's reliance on the DeKalb County Police and the Georgia State Patrol for aviation support. Brookhaven Chief said, Gary Yandura, said that it can take up to an hour for a helicopter to make it to the northern Calab city due to the pre-flight checks and other logistics in addition, the city has no control over other agencies' helicopters, and they have to explain why they need air assistance. Councilwoman Lindley Jones brought up privacy concerns regarding the drones. Bayana dismissed any notions that the program is Big Brother coming to the city. Now, we elected, no, we didn't, but they elected this councilwoman, Lindley Jones, to speak for the people. And what did they do? They completely dismissed her ideas. Are they elected? Is the chief elected? No. But they ignore the councilwoman. And she makes a very good point. This is Big Brother coming to the city. The department will develop policing preventing operators from intentionally recording any location where a person would have reasonable expectation of privacy, such as private backyards or inside private buildings, Ayana said. However, an authorized search warrant or emergency situation would bypass that policy. I don't believe her. I don't believe it at all. I agree with the councilwoman, Lindley Jones. While they say that this is not Big Brother coming, they are ignoring that it clearly is. And it is clearly going to lead to many deaths in the wake of the implication of this. Imagine someone's being kidnapped. They call 911 to get a police officer. As you say bullcrap because your kidnapper is listening to you, and now you got a flippin' drone to respond instead of a human being. Oh, but you said this on the line. Well, we wanted a person. No longer is this a person-to-person interaction being in practice. Instead, they replace them with a robot and with something that is unable to even help you in any way, except for spying on you or looking at people at night. A flying waste of tax dollar money that is just there to listen to idiots and call the station. And now you're being ignored by your own police office and are sent an idiotic copter to come to you, and all it's there for is just to look at people at night and just to spy on people. I really think that this is being implicated into our towns and cities and as the first signs of some bullcrap like a RoboCop type of response in the future. Now, I would like to go ahead and thank you all for watching the 9th episode of Liberty Bites Back. Peace.